All right, let's jump into something that I bet is on a lot of your minds if you're thinking about buying a home, saving for a house.
It can definitely be a challenge, but we are going to help you break it down.
Owning your own place is such a huge step, but how do you actually make it happen?
Well, it's a journey. For sure not a sprint. And you're right, it can be really overwhelming if you just look at the whole picture. So the key is to break it down into smaller pieces.
Okay, let's do it. Break it down. What are the biggest things people should get ready for? Financially, I mean.
The down payment is usually what everyone thinks of first. And I mean, it makes sense, right? It can be anywhere from 3% to 20% of how much the house costs. That is a lot of money.
It is. So what about closing costs?
Oh, yeah. Don't forget about those. Those can be another 2% to 5% on top of the price. There are all those fees for finalizing the mortgage and actually getting ownership.
Okay. So we've got the down payment and closing costs. Anything else?
Definitely don't forget about actually moving. People tend to forget about those costs. You know, they can easily be thousands of dollars, especially if you've got a family or a bunch of furniture to move.
True. I mean, packing supplies, renting a truck, maybe even hiring movers.
Yeah.
All of that really adds up.
Yeah, all adds up.
So we're potentially talking like tens of thousands of dollars. And that's before you even move in.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've laid out how expensive this can be. But let's say I really want this to happen. Buying a house. Where do I even start?
I love that mindset, that you're committed to making it happen. That's what's going to get you there. Now, one of the most effective strategies is to pay yourself first.
Okay, so pay yourself first. What does that actually mean?
It means treating saving money like a bill. Make it something that you have to pay. Like set up an automatic transfer to your savings account every time you get paid, just like you would for any other bill.
So make it automatic and you don't have to think about it. Out of sight, out of mind? Is that what you mean?
Exactly. It takes the temptation away, you know, and you're consistently putting money aside for your house fund, so it builds up.
That makes a lot of sense. Before I go crazy saving for a house, what about any debt I already have?
Such a good question. You have to take care of high interest debt first before you really start saving for a house.
So like credit card debt, because those interest rates can really make a dent in your savings.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. Every dollar you're paying in interest is a dollar that can't go to your house fund.
Okay. Debt first, then house savings.
Got it. So once I've got my debt under control, what are some other good saving tips?
Let's talk about those unexpected extra money moments. You know, like when you get a bonus or a tax refund.
You mean like winning the lottery? I like where this is going.
Maybe not the lottery, but those times when you just get extra money, like work bonuses, gifts from family.
Okay, I see what you mean. It is tempting to just spend it on something fun, but it is a good opportunity to really add to your savings. For sure. And here's a pro tip. Put those extra amounts into a high-yield savings account.
Now, I've heard that term, but what exactly is a high-yield savings account? How is it different from a regular savings account?
Basically, it's a savings account that gives you a higher interest rate than a regular savings account.
Okay.
You can usually find these accounts at online banks or credit unions, so your money is still safe, you can get to it easily, but it's also growing more quickly.
Got it. So it's working harder for me. I like that. What else can we do to save even more?
This next tip might mean making some changes in your life, but getting a cheaper place to live can make a big difference.
So you're talking about downsizing, getting a roommate, or maybe even moving back in with my parents.
Yeah, exactly. If you could lower your rent by just $300 a month, that's $3,600 a year you could be saving.
Wow, that's a good point.
It really puts things into perspective. Of course, you've got to weigh whether it's worth it, you know, your personal needs and preferences.
Yeah, of course. Finding that balance. And something important to remember, housing discrimination is illegal.
100%. Everyone deserves fair and equal access to housing. It doesn't matter your race, religion, where you're from, or anything like that.
Right, that's important. So what if someone thinks they've experienced discrimination? What should they do?
There are places to report that. Like, you can file a report with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD.
Okay, good to know. I'm ready for another tip.
All right, this one might be a little controversial, but it's about reducing how much you save for retirement. For now...
Wait, hold on. Isn't saving for retirement like the most important thing?
It is. And this isn't a permanent solution, just something to do for a little while. We're not saying stop saving for retirement completely, but maybe just contribute enough to get your employer match.
So it's about finding a balance between short-term goals and long-term goals.
Yeah, exactly. And it's super important to not withdraw from your retirement accounts or borrow against them. You could get hit with penalties and miss out on growth, but you can free up some cash by temporarily lowering how much you contribute.
Okay, it's not about forgetting about retirement completely. It's a calculated decision.
Precisely. And remember, this is temporary. As soon as you buy your house, you need to start contributing more to retirement again.
Right. Got to keep that long-term game in mind, too. Okay, what are the last 2 tips to help us buy a house?
All right. Tips 5 and 6 are all about cutting back on your expenses to have more money to save. First, let's talk about luxuries.
Oh, no. I think I know where this is going. My daily latte habit is in trouble.
It's true, those little things add up. Think about it. Even if you just have 2 $15 cocktails each week, that's over $1,500 a year.
Ouch. Okay, I see what you mean. It's not about never treating yourself. It's about being aware of those little things you buy regularly that can eat away at your savings.
That's it. And that brings us to the last tip, trimming your routine expenses.
Okay, so we're talking about really looking at my monthly bills and finding ways to cut back.
You got it. Like your cable bill, cell phone plan, gym membership, all those streaming services. Can you find cheaper options or cut back in any of those areas?
That's a good point. With all the streaming services out there now, I bet a lot of people are still paying for cable and never even watch it.
Exactly. And maybe you can swap those expensive gym workouts for some runs outside or at-home workouts. There's so many free or inexpensive resources for that now.
I like that. Fresh air and exercise, plus more money for my house.
Why?
It's all about being creative and finding ways to make your money work harder. Not you.
I love that. So we've talked about so many things, making savings automatic, dealing with debt, getting creative with living situations, and really looking at how we spend money.
Yeah. It might seem like a lot, but even small changes can make a big difference over time. The most important thing is to be consistent.
Very true. You don't have to change everything overnight. Little changes add up over time. You know what? We've talked about down payments and all those costs, but what about the different kinds of loans you can get?
Oh, right. That's a whole other piece of the puzzle.
It is. Remember those FHA loans we talked about? The ones that only need a 3.5% down payment?
Yeah, those are great for people who might not be able to save up for a bigger down payment.
Right. But it's important to know how those loans work. You often have to meet more requirements to get one.
Okay, so it's not a guaranteed solution.
Right. But it's definitely something to look into. You should always do your research and compare loans to figure out what's best for your financial situation.
Makes sense. And, it's interesting to think about how down payments and loan options are different depending on where you live.
Absolutely. The housing market is different all over the place. Like the average down payment in a big city like San Francisco is probably way higher than in a smaller town.
True. So where you live affects not just the cost of homes, but also the kind of loans you can get.
Oh, and remember those closing costs.
Oh, right. Those hidden costs.
Yep. They can include things like loan origination fees, appraisal fees, title insurance, even prepaid property taxes.
Wow, that's a lot of fees. No wonder it gets so expensive.
And the exact costs are different in different states.
So, do your homework, figure out what all the potential costs might be before you even make an offer on a house.
Absolutely. The more you know, the better when it comes to buying a house. And speaking of that, there's another super important step we need to talk about. Getting pre-approved for a mortgage.
Right. I've heard that term, but I don't really know what it is or why it matters.
It's a total game changer. When you get pre-approved for a mortgage, you find out exactly how much money you can borrow. So you can look for houses that you know you can afford and not get disappointed later.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it shows the seller that you're serious about buying.
For sure. It can give you an advantage, especially if a lot of people want the same house.
So before I start looking at houses I can't afford, I need to talk to a lender and get pre-approved. Got it.
Got it. It's all about setting yourself up for success. And speaking of success, remember that tip about saving less for retirement?
Yeah, the controversial one.
Right. Just
Yeah.
to reiterate, it's a temporary thing.
Of course, retirement savings are important for the future.
Definitely. And if you do decide to lower how much you're contributing, make sure you have a plan to increase it again once you buy a house.
Good point. Balance is key.
Exactly. And while we're talking about saving, let's go back to those luxury expenses.
My lattes. You're picking on my lattes.
It's not just about lattes, it's about those little things we buy. Impulse purchases, expensive nights out, subscriptions you aren't even using.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Those subscriptions can sneak up on you.
They do. So take a look at your bank statements. Where's your money actually going? You might be surprised.
True. Once you know where your money is going, you can make better decisions about how to cut back.
Exactly. And, even those little things, that daily coffee or that takeout meal every week, they can add up to a lot of money.
Absolutely. It's all about those small, consistent changes that turn into big savings over time.
Yeah. It's not about never treating yourself. It's about making intentional choices.
That's so true. And sometimes it can actually feel good to make those little sacrifices.
That's a good point. It's like you're taking control of your finances and doing something to reach your goals.
I know, right? And that feeling of progress can be so motivating.
Absolutely. Another thing that can be super motivating is having a clear picture in your mind of what you're saving for.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to stay on track when you can imagine yourself in your own backyard or cooking dinner in your dream kitchen.
Right. So spend some time thinking about your goals. You could even make a vision board or write down a list of all the things you're excited about for when you own a house.
I love that. Keep the end goal in mind.
Exactly. And, when we're talking about goals, it's important to have a realistic timeline. Buying a house is a big financial commitment. It's not going to happen overnight.
That's so true. It's all about making small goals you can actually achieve and celebrating the little wins along the way.
Right. And everyone's journey to homeownership is different. There's no one right way to do it.
I like that reminder. It's about figuring out what works best for you and your finances.
Yeah. When we talk about everyone's finances being different, it's good to remember that unexpected things can happen.
Oh, tell me about it. Life throws curveballs. You think you have a plan, and then boom.
That's why you need a financial cushion. That's where your emergency fund comes in.
That's right. We talked about that a little bit before. Having those savings can help you stay on track, even when something unexpected happens.
It can keep you from having to use your house savings when things go wrong.
Okay. So, manage my debt. Check. Emergency fund, check. What about investing? Should I invest the money I'm saving for a house to make it grow faster?
That's a question I get a lot. While investing is great for building wealth over a long time, it's not really the best idea for short-term goals like buying a house.
Why is that? I thought investing was always a good idea.
The thing is, investing has risks. The stock market can go up and down a lot, especially in a short time period. You don't want to risk losing the money you saved right when you need it for your down payment.
Okay, that makes sense. So where should I keep the money if not in the stock market?
We talked about those high-yield savings accounts. Those are a great place to keep your money when you are saving for a short-term goal. You get better interest rates than regular savings accounts, but without all the ups and downs of the stock market.
Okay, safety and stability are what we're going for. High-yield savings account it is.
You got it. Now, this is a question that comes up all the time. Should I take money out of my retirement accounts or borrow against them to help me buy a house faster?
That's a tough one. I mean, on the one hand, I want to buy a house as soon as possible, but I know saving for retirement is really important too.
Yeah, I get it. It can be tempting, but it's usually not a good idea.
Really? Why not?
You could get penalized and have to pay taxes for withdrawing money early. Even if you borrow against it, you're missing out on the chance for your money to grow.
Okay, so there are consequences to using retirement funds.
For sure. Remember, retirement savings are meant for later in life. If you use them too early, it can really affect your finances later on.
Right. Got to play that long game. No retirement money for a house. Got it.
Smart. Now let's talk about another step in the home buying process, choosing the right mortgage.
So we've figured out our savings, taken care of our debt, and now it's time for the world of mortgages. What do we need to know?
There are so many different options. It can be really confusing, but understanding the basics can help you make a smart decision.
So what are the main types of mortgages?
There are two main types: fixed rate mortgages and adjustable rate mortgages.
Okay, let's start with fixed rate mortgages. Tell me about those.
With a fixed rate mortgage, your interest rate stays the same for the entire time you have the loan. Usually that's 15 or 30 years. So your monthly payments stay the same, which makes it easier to budget.
Okay, sounds pretty simple. What about adjustable rate mortgages? How are they different?
With an adjustable rate mortgage, which is sometimes called an ARM, your interest rate can change over time. Usually starts fixed for a few years, like 5 or 7, and then it adjusts based on what's happening with interest rates in general.
So my monthly payments could go up or down. That sounds a little riskier than a fixed rate mortgage.
It can be. ARMs can be attractive because they usually start with lower interest rates than fixed rate mortgages. But if interest rates go way up, so do your monthly payments.
Okay, so there's a trade-off. You might save money at the beginning, but you could end up paying more later on. What are the pros and cons of each type?
Fixed-rate mortgages are all about predictability and stability. Your payments stay the same, which can really help with budgeting, but they usually start with higher interest rates than ARMs.
And ARMs might be riskier, but you could save money if interest rates stay low.
Right. But really think about your finances and how much risk you are comfortable with before choosing an ARM. If you plan to stay in your house for a long time and prefer those predictable payments, a fixed-rate mortgage might be a better choice.
Okay, makes sense. So fixed rate is for stability, and ARM is for potential savings with some risk.
Got it. What else should we be thinking about when picking a mortgage?
The loan term is important. That's how long you have to pay back the loan. Like I said, the most common ones are 15 years and 30 years.
What's the difference between a 15-year mortgage and a 30-year mortgage?
With a 15-year mortgage, you're paying it off faster, so your monthly payments are higher. But you actually end up paying less in interest overall. A 30-year mortgage has lower monthly payments, but you pay more interest in the long run.
So it's about balancing what you can afford each month with saving money in the long run.
That's it. It's about finding the right fit for your budget and your financial goals.
Got it. Are there other types of mortgages that we should know about? Well, we talked about FHA loans. Those are the ones that are backed by the Federal Housing Administration. They're made to help people with lower incomes qualify for a mortgage.
Right, the ones with the 3.5% down payment. Is there anything else good about those loans?
Yeah, they often have easier credit score requirements than regular loans, and they allow you to have more debt compared to your income.
Wow, so you could qualify for a bigger loan even if you already have some debt.
You could, but FHA loans do have some rules. You have to pay for mortgage insurance, which adds to how much you pay each month.
So it's not completely free money, but it's something to think about if you're buying a house for the first time or don't have a lot of money to put down.
Exactly. And speaking of buying a house for the first time, there are often special programs and things to help first-time buyers.
Oh, really? Tell me more about those.
Well, there are down payment assistance programs. Those can help you pay for some or even all of your down payment. And there are also tax credits. Those can lower how much you owe in federal income taxes.
That sounds amazing. Where can I find out more about these programs?
It depends on where you live. A lot of the programs are run by states or local governments. You can check with your state housing finance agency or your local government to see what's available.
That's great advice. So it's really worth doing some research to see what kind of help is out there, especially for first-time buyers.
Absolutely. You don't have to do this alone. There are professionals out there who can help you through the process.
That's right. There are experts to help us out.
Real estate agents can be super helpful for finding the right house and negotiating a good price. And then mortgage brokers can help you compare different loans and get the best terms.
So build a team of experts to help you.
Exactly. Having good people to help you can make a big difference.
Okay, we covered a lot today. Saving strategies, dealing with debt, emergency funds, different kinds of mortgages, those programs for first-time buyers, and getting help from the pros. It's a lot, but I'm starting to feel a little more confident about this whole buying a house thing.
I'm glad to hear that. Remember, the more you know, the better. When you understand the process, you can make better decisions and reach your goal of owning a house.
Yeah, that's true. And, we've been really focused on the money side of things, but there's another important part of buying a house.
The emotional side.
Exactly. Buying a house is a big emotional decision. It's a roller coaster of feelings.
That's so true. It's exciting to find the perfect place, but it can be stressful to negotiate. And then you've got to wait for closing day. It really is a ride.
How can we get ready for all those feelings?
It's important to know that it's okay to feel all the feels, Don't try to hide how you're feeling, whether you're excited, worried, or frustrated.
So true. If you keep it all bottled up, it will just make the whole process more stressful.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask for help either. Your partner, family, friends, even a therapist. Having people to support you can make all the difference.
Right. It's good to have a network of people to help and encourage you. What about when you run into setbacks or things don't go your way? Those things are bound to happen when you're buying a house, right?
Yeah, those are definitely part of it. You got to be prepared. You might find a house you love and then it doesn't work out. Or you could have problems with getting financing or with the inspections.
Just thinking about those things makes me stressed.
I know it's tough, but remember those setbacks are temporary. They don't mean you can't buy a house.
It's easy to get discouraged. It helps to remember that.
And sometimes those setbacks can lead you to something even better.
Oh, I like that. Like maybe it wasn't meant to be.
Right. So don't dwell on the disappointment. Think about what you learned and the new opportunities that might be coming.
I like that way of thinking. So manage our emotions, build a support system, and look at setbacks as opportunities. Any other tips for staying sane during this process?
Take care of yourself. Do things you enjoy and help you relax.
So like taking a bath, doing yoga, going for walks, just things to help me relax.
Yes, exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of searching for a house and forget to take care of yourself.
That's true. A stressed out home buyer is not a happy home buyer.
And speaking of happy home buyers, one final thing I want to say is this. Don't forget to actually enjoy the process.
That is so important. It's easy to get caught up in all the stress and details. But in the end, buying a house is about creating a home, a place where you feel good, happy, comfortable, and safe.
Yeah, 100%. So as you go through all of this, remember to celebrate those little wins, enjoy the process, and don't be afraid to have big dreams.
That's such a great point. It's about the whole journey. Speaking of journeys, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into saving for a house. Hopefully this is just the start of your home ownership journey.
We've covered a lot, from the practical stuff like saving strategies and managing debt to understanding mortgages and, taking care of your mental health through all of this.
Yeah. And we've talked about building a support system, getting advice from the pros, and just accepting that there can be ups and downs.
It might feel like a lot. Remember, you don't have to do everything at once. Just take it one step at a time and celebrate each little victory.
Okay, so to everyone out there dreaming of owning a home, you got this. We believe in you.
And remember, we're always here to support you. Good luck house hunting.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back with another one soon.
Don't forget to enjoy the process.
That's so important. It's easy to get caught up in all the stress and details. But in the end, buying a house is about creating a home. A place where you feel good, happy, and comfortable, safe.
Yeah, 100%. So as you go through all of this, remember to celebrate those little wins, enjoy the process, and don't be afraid to have big dreams.
That's such a great point. It's about the whole journey. Speaking of journeys, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into saving for a house. Hopefully this is just the start of your home ownership journey.
We've covered a lot, from the practical stuff like saving strategies and managing debt to understanding mortgages and, taking care of your mental health through all of this.
Yeah, and we've talked about building a support system, getting advice from the pros, and just accepting that there are going to be ups and downs.
It might feel like a lot. Remember, you don't have to do everything at once. Just take it one step at a time and celebrate each little victory.
Okay, so to everyone out there dreaming of owning a home, you got this. We believe in you.
And remember, we're always here to support you. Good luck house hunting.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back with another one soon.